You like our music, Liz?
It's a little loud.
I just turned down my volume.
So I think you have to cut it in half. Brian, I'm going to send out a memo or an email after this meeting about some things that would be good to have for tomorrow's economic development meeting.
Let me get Cecil to mute this music here. I'm trying to text him, Liz.
I hope that wasn't happening yesterday.
All right, there we go. Sorry about that. I missed what you said, Liz.
I said, I hope that wasn't happening yesterday.
No, it wasn't. All right, so before we get started, Liz, I set up a follow-up meeting with Lieber Casti at 4:30. I know we're tight on time, so Selena will begin with them if we go past 4:30. I know this was a preset meeting, so it was the only time Lieber Casti had today to follow up on our discussion yesterday.
Okay. I had some thoughts that I was going to go over with you later, so that's fine. I'll try and do that.
Okay, and then I've got some structure. I don't know how you want to structure today's discussion, but
I did the same.
okay.
And lessons learned.
Okay.
So what did you have in mind? And I'll compare it to mine.
Well, what I was thinking is starting with the bills that the league has taken positions on that are progressing that we have not written a letter on, and start with those. And then circle back to those that perhaps there's disagreement on why we didn't write a letter, and then those that we have written a letter on if we need to resend those letters.
Okay, so I did something somewhat similar. So I said we should begin with a priority of what we want to be sure and discuss. So it's consistent with what you said.
Yep.
The second is I wanted to check with Councilmember Lopez to see what he knew, so we didn't waste time on if something had changed. The third I said was to review the Cal Cities report, which is sort of tied into number one. I wanted to do number one as a priority to discuss, which was specific to our list. And then do any updates that Sergio had, then go to the Cal Cities report, and then go back to what we want to resend or new letters. So it's similar to what you had in mind.
All right.
Okay.
Let's roll with it.
Trying to learn lessons and get through this quickly.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, Brian has a hard stop at 4:30, so we may continue, but we were both trying to find a way to expedite and structure our conversation a little more productively. So
I also have a hard stop at 5:30, so hopefully that keeps us efficient.
hopefully at 5 we'll be over.
Okay.
So Margarita put together her usual list, and I went through it and I highlighted ones that I thought we should chat about. And Councilmember Lopez, if you have any, and also if you have any updates. Last time you said you had an update after we were having a discussion, you said, oh, by the way. So if there's anything that you want to tell us, please do so as we go through this.
I don't have updates. Do you mean that there was that I said I would have an update or what?
No, last time you did. Last time you had an update on a particular bill.
Not this time.
Okay.
You can just-
So I have SB 6, SB 8, SB 10, AB 1401, and SB 556. That one we can skip actually because we already wrote a letter. AB 339. And okay, we did this, we sent a letter the next time. We sent a letter on the next one. And the last one, I think, was SB 619. Those are the ones from the list that Margarita has been tracking for us. I do have a few others, but those are the ones on the list. Councilmember Lopez, are there any that you want to cover?
I don't have, you covered mine.
Okay, all right, so are you okay to start with that list?
Yep.
And as we go through it, we could tag on to what the Cal Cities status is. I think Margarita's got that pretty close into her notes.
Yes, so what the city manager and I did is we reviewed the priority bills that were we were briefed on over the last couple weeks ago by Cal Cities. And we cross-referenced that with the bills we've been tracking, and we had a handful of bills where the city had not yet taken a position on, and those were the bills that the city manager was going to walk you through in terms of saying, these are the bills we have not yet taken an action on. So if we wanted to, you could do so at this time. Give us direction to do so. And it's SB 619.
So sorry, the list that you have on the screen, we do not have.
No, so I'm sharing it with you, and I was going to post it as part of a desk item to today's meeting. But all these bills are in our matrix. I received it not too long ago, and I thought it was a good summary.
Okay, all right. I just want to be sure that it includes all the bills that we have.
It does, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right.
You want to run through these? You want to start from the top with?
Do we have any members of the public on this call? Because we want to make sure that we give them an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, we have no members from the public participating at the moment.
Okay, and we got the time and publication date correct, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Don't have any issues with that. Okay, so I will then just say officially that this is the legislative subcommittee agenda for our meeting today, August 11th, to protect our constituents, city officials, and city staff. The city is convening this meeting via telecommunications and is compliant with the provisions of the Brown Act and Executive Order N29-20 as issued by the governor. And members of the public will be given opportunity to speak if they so wish. Okay, I think that's sufficient, and I will now call the meeting to order. And there are no public members, so I'm going to say no public comment at this time. And the first item is new business. And Margarita, you're going to use your cross-reference table to begin the conversation.
Yeah. You want to introduce it, Margarita? You want me to?
Go ahead, city manager.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and take it. And Margarita could jump in and correct me if I misstate something here. So SB 619, the Laird bill. This was a bill that was going to delay the implementation of the recycling requirement for organic materials. And we did not initially take a position on this because in the West Valley, we think we're prepared to move forward with these regulations. The league is supporting it because I'm sure there are cities that are ill prepared for this, but we did not take a position on this bill.
And isn't this the one that was substantively changed?
What am I substantially changed? I don't know about substance.
Yeah, I don't know that was changed.
I think this one was.
All right.
So this postpones the organic waste recycling that was supposed to be in effect on January 1st, 2002
Yeah, I know.
to January 1 of an unspecified year.
The way that Cal Cities defined it is this measure is aiming to help local governments implement SB 1383 and the subsequent Cal Recycle organic waste regulations. So I think this is really just a matter of giving cities more time to comply with SB 1383.
Yeah,
Mayor,
something changed. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor, I pulled up the bill text. That originally it was, believe it or not, indefinitely delaying. Oh, I mean, well, not indefinite, it just said specify a year. It says an unspecified amount of years. So, and that's been changed to state this bill until January 1st, 2023 would require the department to only impose. So there would be a small penalty for a delay, but it would allow for a delay until 2023 and that additional year. So that's a pretty big change from, an indefinite and no penalty.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, but so I think a more reasonable bill.
Right. So,
Well, as the city manager said, the city of Campbell is prepared and has been working on this. We have a draft policy, a draft ordinance already in the works. So if this, if this bill were to not be signed into law, the city would be in compliance and there'd be no impact. So I believe that under that procedure, then that, we have not been recommending a position on this bill.
all right. So we have a choice. We can follow the Cal Cities to support, or we can simply not respond, is how I'm hearing the conversation.
Correct.
Councilmember Lopez, do you have, Brian, did you say something?
Oh, I said you are correct, Mayor.
Yeah, I'm in favor of no position. The way I see it, or just my framework when looking at these bills, is not, what's the theoretical impact around the state going to be, or who could it theoretically impact, but how does it affect us in the city of Campbell? And given what staff has shared about our status, I feel confident in taking no position.
I would agree. Okay.
Right. So the next one on our list is AB 339. This is Lee. This is a local government open public meeting that requires requirements for recording meetings and access to meetings and translation, closed captioning, I think. And the reason we did not take a position on this is it only applies to jurisdictions over 250,000. So we didn't take a position on this.
Yeah, it's on my highlight. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say that's on my highlighted list as well. Do we want to take a position?
I know that this has been controversial for some other cities. Apart from the 250,000, we're moving toward this already, are we not?
Yeah, we're moving towards everything but the closed captioning. But there's ways that Zoom can translate that and do captioning. So yeah, technology probably can accommodate this if this were to apply to us anyway.
Zoom's captioning is pretty good. I would just,
yeah, it is pretty good. Whether it would meet these requirements from a technical perspective, I don't know, but I think we're not far from being able to accommodate that if we had to.
Yeah. So I'm fine with taking no position on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one.
Okay, the next one is AB 1401. And this has to do with parking.
Yeah, that's the one that says parking within a half mile of a transit or something. It says.
Yeah, half mile, you're right.
Yeah.
And we had watch on this, Bill, but we didn't take a position.
So Cal Cities is opposed. And the reason I'm I'm opposed is that when you look like at a city like Campbell, we have our Winchester and East Campbell.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Excuse my rudeness. I think we went down this line of conversation and looked at this, and this doesn't apply to over 75,000, or it only applies to over 75,000 population. I remember us having this discussion before, I think. So it's not applicable to Campbell.
Okay, can we, is this, there was, yeah, this may be one of the ones that substantively changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an amendment that's new, but I think we did discuss it last time.
I think you're right, Councilmember Lopez, and I'm pulling up the bill language right now. Yeah, this bill would prohibit a public agency in a city with 75,000 or more located in a county with populations of less than 600,000.
Okay, so no action.
Yep.
I would advocate for changing this from watch to no position.
I think, actually, bear with me a second as I read this. Let me read this to you and see if this resonates. This bill would prohibit a public agency in a county with a population of 600,000 or more from imposing minimum automobile parking requirements.
It's a county, not a city.
An agency in a county with a population of 600,000 or more. And then in addition, this bill would prohibit a public agency in a city with 75,000 or more located in a county of population less than 600,000.
Okay.
So I think it applies to us if our county population is over 600,000.
How would this apply? And I know we're thinking out loud, so we might not have the answer to, in our case, VTA, because so is public county referring public agency here is referring to the city, right? And yeah, so I'm just trying to figure. Okay, so it looks like that would.
I think it applies to us in that caveat. There's a caveat for cities over 775,000, but any agency in a county with a population of 600,000 or more, it would apply.
And agency meaning the city.
Yeah, public agency, I'm assuming, and I could read more into this, but because it does later go on to say in a city with population, with a city of a population, it does refer to cities down below in the actual code sections.
Mm-hmm.
So are we comfortable that it does apply to Campbell?
I think it would.
That is our conclusion? Okay. So I think it's a very problem. I'll abbreviate my comments, Councilmember Lopez. I will say that I think that it is specifically detrimental to Campbell.
All right, so we can, I
And-
don't, go ahead,
And
Sergio.
do we have upcoming dates on this one when we'd want to hearing dates?
Yeah, let me tell you here.
It looks like it got counted for the 16th, August 16th in Senate Appropriations.
Yeah.
Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. 8:16 at 9 a.m. in appropriations. So it's part of that big list of bills that you know that goes to appropriations, whether it gets heard or not. I'm not quite sure, but it's calendared.
So I'll stick my 2 cents worth in, Councilmember Lopez, because you're being too quiet. I will simply say that Campbell is a community of small, narrow roads. We have limited parking on a lot of our roads. Yet on Winchester and East Campbell Ave and other places, we have high-density housing proposals. So if they don't provide parking on site, it's going to be very problematic for our community in the foreseeable future. There may be a point when public transit is more viable than it is now, but it isn't viable now. The ridership is very low and our Vasona Light Rail has limited expansion capacity because of the single tracking. And then the bus routes constantly change. So I just think it's so general, and so generic that when you look at it actually in Campbell, it's very problematic.
And I'll say, and I've said this before, my maybe similar but slightly different emphasis, but I think it's very difficult for a small city like Campbell that doesn't also control its own public transit system, and these bills tend to be written with those larger cities in mind. And I brought this up direct, not with this bill or this author, but to the authors of bills with those considerations before. And I think that's a legitimate concern for a smaller city. I mean, there really needs to be some kind of coordination.
Nexus, some kind of nexus between. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I was just reinforcing your comment. I think there does need to be a nexus.
I agree. It's well said. I think I was done making my point.
So would you be all right if we wrote a letter of oppose? I could go oppose unless amended, but I think the 2 points are that it is too generic for the individual conditions of small cities, and it doesn't, small cities don't control transit, something like that.
I would personally support oppose unless amended with, I think those 2 points are well said. Again, there could be theoretically larger cities where this works, but I think in terms of our point of view, that's something that I hope they can learn when writing these bills.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, can we reiterate the 2 points? I heard the too generic for small cities that don't control transit. What was the first?
The other is that small cities, I forget exactly what I said, don't have the, what did I say? Don't have the capacity to accommodate cars on existing street networks.
I actually wrote down the timestamp so I can rewind back to your original comment.
Okay,
Okay.
that would
I
be
do
fine.
appreciate how you described it about
All
the
right, I'm
narrow.
not trying to confuse. I just tried to take notes.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
all right, next one.
All right, so the next one is, I have SB 8. The league showing oppose, I think. We showed it as watch.
So Margarita, remind me, your note says reduce the incentive criteria for LI. Is that meant to be, I'm saying, reading it out loud, low income?
Correct.
Okay.
I am going to share my.
Yeah, a lot of that has been addressed in the RENA allocation. I think the RENA allocation actually increased the low and low income numbers substantively by their new algorithm.
Yep, it extends the sunset date for SB 330 from 2025 to 2030, freezes fees for an SB 330 project.
And for the record, I, along with, I think ABAG, as a body opposed SB 330.
So Mayor, can you fill me in a little bit on the background
Trying to read the screen here. It's a little bit small for me to read. So SB 330, I don't see it in this notes here, but SB 330 was a Skinner bill. And it has to do with the city's ability to impose fees like park fees or other things. And isn't it the one that did the objective standards? I forget, there's quite a few things to it. It was a fairly complicated bill. And I definitely can't read that.
So all these provisions that I'd say January 1st, 2025 would be extended 5 more years to.
So I think primarily this was your objective standards bill, and there's an element of permit streamlining with it too.
Yeah.
You can't have more than 5 hearings, and there's some requirements for streamlining, but this is
Yeah, there's quite a few caveats to this. And one of them was a concern about permit fees, because I think that's in here. Because we use our permit fees to build parks. As you know, we've done a lot of good work utilizing those fees. And I think it was a comment, you cannot raise any of those fees.
It freezes the fees.
Sorry, say that again.
It freezes the fees.
Freeze, yeah, thank you. It freezes the fees. So it was bad enough for 2025, but to go to 2030. I think we have fees for parking or for traffic impacts, like building signals at intersections. And we have the park fees, and I forget what other fees. But it's a significant financial impact to the city, either for what the cities cannot do or fund, or things that they have to do and have to fund without this, even though there's a direct nexus to the projects. It's based on a study that the Turner Center at Berkeley did, and that's in her jurisdiction, and the Turner Center is used by a lot of legislators. And they did a study and they defined Fremont as a small city, which it isn't. And they said Fremont had fees of, remember, Brian, we did a little study. I asked you to evaluate ours.
Yes.
It was 300 and some odd thousand per unit fees in Fremont. Campbell was somewhere 78 to 80 something in fees. So it was a distortion of defining, small city fees. So that was a reason why ABAG voted against it, if my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, there was a couple provisions, mainly the objective standards requirement, but also when this bill was written, and this doesn't apply to Campbell so much because we don't do this practice, but it deals with when projects are deemed complete and when you can add extra requirements to a project. And some cities would heap on additional requirements that were adopted during the entitlement process. Once we've received an application in Campbell and deemed it complete, we don't add extra requirements. As bill SB 330 makes that clear that you can't.
So
do
that
that.
was freezing, right? It was freezing that as well.
Yeah, we are already compliant with that piece of it, but certainly this sets forth the most applicable piece. One is the streamlining, and then the limit to objective standards.
Right, and the objective standards, it was a problematic item, but mostly because it was made effective within 6 months of the bill being signed. And as you know, Campbell still doesn't have objective standards. So it was virtually impossible for cities to react in the time frame. Not so much that people objected to objective standards. Objective standards did eliminate the community's ability to provide feedback. It really did constrain community input. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I think the argument that development shouldn't be approved because it's not compliant with the neighborhood character that goes out the window with this bill. It has to be based on height limits, setback limits, objective standards. Building shall have hip roofs or gable roofs. It has to be really specific. So I think that was the biggest impact to us.
So I just, and I appreciate the background. This is all really helpful. We're currently moving to update our objective standards. That's an ongoing thing. So my understanding correctly that let's say we get through that process. Currently, putting this bill aside, that's only going to be in place until 2025.
Correct.
Correct.
I see.
Well, and I think this bill that we're talking about, SB 8, extends that to
I understand.
2030.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so all helpful. I'm not I'm less concerned about extending the objective standards. I think it's on balance a good thing, and although you know that there still are opportunities for people to participate and give input throughout the process, and there's still public hearings.
But very few, but very few.
And I think I would argue that, you know, there needs to be some balance, just you know, and ensure that things are still able to get through. I would be really curious for this one, to learn more about, since the original version 330 was enacted, what has been the impact of Campbell's finances? Has there been any impact? You know, have more projects actually gone through? And you know, we might have a general sense of this, but I'd be really curious to look at the numbers and see it before and after, because I think that would give us a, you know, clear answer. Is this helpful? Is it needed?
So I'll offer you this. You probably have heard me say this at meetings, but didn't make the connection. Because when I was talking about all of the zoning change applications that we're getting, the 3 or 4 on Hamilton or in that area, that we are not constrained by objective standards because there's a zoning change. I believe Brian, public planning confirmed that. That as long as it's a zoning change process, we don't have to comply with SB 330.
Yeah, they have to comply with the rules that are in effect at the time of their application. That's correct.
So sorry, I don't think you're answering my question quite the way I want to hear, think I'm asking it. If somebody has a zoning change, so if they submit a concept under a zoning change, that does not constitute the trigger to apply objective standards.
I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think objective standards apply to all projects.
I'm going to ask you to validate that, because
Yeah, I will. I think what probably applies is the streamlining. We're not required to streamline for something that isn't entitled that way. In order for that to qualify for streamlining the reduced number of hearings, it does have to comply with all the rules that were in place.
So I will say that I think I probably have an answer in writing from planning that says it doesn't apply. 330, SB 330 doesn't apply to any project that goes for a zoning process change. And we should validate that for all our benefits. But I brought that up to answer Councilmember Lopez's question, which is, has there been any impact? Since this law went into effect, there have been, to my knowledge, no new projects where this was triggered. Nothing comes to mind, but I was saying that we've got all these new projects coming, and that we have to be prepared for when they do meet the trigger, that we have objective standards in place. So I've been making a big deal out of the fact that we don't have our objective standards. in
Yeah, and I think, Liz, I'm sorry to jump in, your previous statement, I think that is true. I'm reading this paragraph here. The act requires a local agency that proposes to disapprove a housing development project that complies with all applicable objective general plan and zoning standards and criteria that were in effect at the time of the application. So if you don't comply with the zoning, you're asking for a zoning change,
Yeah,
this goes out the window.
yeah. I was pretty sure about that. But to answer Council Member Lopez's question, at some point, we have all of these projects coming forward. There will be a point at which this does get triggered. And so to answer, has there been any impact? Have there been any projects? To my knowledge, not yet, but they are probably imminent.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
And I think the key to this is disapproving a project. Your city attorney has said you can condition projects based on concern. Very rarely at the end of our road on projects do we deny a project outwardly.
Yeah.
Usually work with them and you condition them. So, you know, the impacts may be more nuanced than pointing to a specific project that was denied.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I think Bill is going to be doing some more research on that interpretation. Okay, so I support the league's position against this. And as I said, I'm pretty sure the new RENA formula eliminates the well, I suppose this is saying reduces the incentive criteria for, and it makes it have 2 incentives versus 3, and then raises it to 50%. I think the legislation that's already passed has gone up to 50%, right? I'm 99% sure that's true. Some other piece of legislation that got passed is already at 50%, and we're revising our density bonus to that already.
So Sergio, where are you at on SB 8?
I don't have as strong feelings about this one. I'm supportive. I think it's a good practice to have objective standards, and that we need to make sure that we're updating them. And I know that's a work in progress. I think that's incredibly important. I mean, I don't have strong feelings one way or the other, for or against. And it sounds like the impacts to Campbell in particular are more measured and nuanced for, you know, for a number of reasons.
Yeah, everything you said it just previously, everything is, and I use my word generic, that, you know, when you're talking about communities of populations less than 50,000 or even less than 75,000, the impacts of these kinds of things are really tough. So am I right that the league says no on this one, Margarita?
Correct. Yep, oppose.
Okay, opposed. So I would like to write a letter of oppose. If Councilmember Lopez is not comfortable with that, I can send it under my signature.
I think that would be my preference. I'm just a little, I don't necessarily foresee a massive impact to Campbell from this one, but I understand the concerns.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's complicated, and if you don't have a lot of the history, and we're trying to explain it quickly. Yeah.
And I appreciate that. That's tremendously helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'm fine with that.
In the interest of time, I've got to run. I've got the other group waiting for me. The other one that we did not write a letter on my list was SB 4. This is a communication bill. I know
Sergio
Councilmember
has to recuse from this.
Yeah, and that was my comment and probably why we didn't take action on it. We could work separately with you, Mayor, on that one.
Okay,
And the others, we did write letters on. So that was it for my
I
list.
think the one that we didn't do a letter on was SB 10.
Yes, it's no longer flagged as a priority bill. But you're right, the city, it's on our tracking list, but it's nothing that it's not on the, I didn't cross-reference it because it fell off the league's list and we had just taken a watch position on it.
Yeah, I'm strongly, I'm strongly against SB 10 and I would like to write a letter. I don't know whether Councilmember Lopez would agree with that.
Yeah, we had a bit of discussion on this one previously. I'm supportive for the reason that this is not a mandate. It's not it gives cities an option to use this tool. And I'm not saying that we would, but there may be cases where that's helpful. But I think for me, if we're talking about local control, this increases the amount it gives you an additional tool.
Okay, so we haven't had this situation before where we have both two different opinions.
Hmm.
Able to reach compromise on everything else. I cannot support this in any shape or form. So what should we do? What would you offer as an option? Do we simply not respond, which would bother me terribly, but so remembering our charge is what would affect Campbell, right?
And I'm looking at that. I'm looking at local control, which is where, you know, we're looking at the same thing and coming to different conclusions, which is fair. Yeah. And I know also sometimes concerns, you know, are brought up around this and that, you know, it's going to be a slippery slope and that the next bill that comes down might be a mandate instead of, to me, I'm looking at the bill that's in front of us to consider. And if there's another one that comes down, we consider that one. But this one is not written that way. So
yeah. So I think I would need to read the actual language of the bill. Brian has to go. I would need to read the language. I don't know if Brian, you need to stay for this anyway, but I would need to read the language of the bill to make sure that my objections are still valid.
I have a fact sheet that I'll re-forward and then I'll send you a PDF of the bill as amended.
Well, you've got a link, what you sent us.
I do, you're right, I do.
So I'll just go to that link and review it.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Are you guys good to proceed without me?
Yeah.
You okay, Margarita?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
I'll fill you in.
Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, I'll just add that it's also, I think, good, in addition to the fact sheet, I like to review the bill text and just look at the blue areas that are amendments. I don't think that there's been substantial ones with this one, but sometimes you learn interesting things, or, you know, there may be significant changes.
Yeah,
Okay.
point well taken.
That, you know, that the fact sheet doesn't always cover those new ones.
That's very true. Because the fact sheet is static. Yeah.
Okay. What else is on your list, Margarita?
That was it. We didn't have SB 10 on our list, so you had a couple of bills that you started the meeting off with.
So I'd have to go back. I have to go back and look at, would you pull your list up so I make sure I'm not redundant here? No, you're abbreviated.
Oh. No, where'd it go? Where did it go? This one?
All right, so going back to the top.
I think that the city manager, I looked at it, so it's like everything under community service, we did not review due to no impact at Campbell. So what we discussed, what we highlighted and what we discussed is really what was left.
Well, where is SB 6 in this? It's held at the desk. That's what that is. I read that now. That's held at the desk, right?
Yeah. So, yes.
Okay, so we went through 8, we went through 9, we wrote a letter before, SB 10. And then the other ones on my list.
AB 215, we wrote a letter on.
It's interesting that SB 556, we just wrote a no on in the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, we've taken position on that as well.
Yeah, 339 about open meetings. What did we just say on that one?
Yeah, that it applies to 300 of populations over 250, sorry.
So we're gonna do no, I'm just circling, no position on that, okay?
Yes.
And that for me, that I think we're already moving that direction anyway.
Correct.
Very
There's
proactively.
ways that we moving towards compliance.
Yeah, technology is gonna be there. And the retirement one, we said no.
Yeah, we submitted a letter on the retirement one.
Yeah, transit agency one's on hold.
Yes.
The organic waste one, we talked about. And then the 1401 we talked about.
Yes.
And then the next one is, oops, I think that was my list.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple of others from the league summary meeting.
Yes, they would be here in this on this summary.
Okay, so 897.
897.
That was the climate action plan. It was,
Okay, Mullen.
yeah. So I mean, so here, Sergio, we can move forward with these or not. I thought that was okay. But if the league says support and you don't want to add anything more to their positions, that's fine. We don't need to make work for ourselves.
I haven't studied 897. Now this is yeah,
It's
no.
on the league's page.
Right, yes.
Well, let's look at other ones that there might be a discrepancy on, and AB 602. It has to do with development fees.
I'll just say on 897 that I would, just at a glance, look
Yeah.
like I would support it, but haven't had the chance to study it in depth.
Yeah, I'm inclined to support it too, but again, is it worth us writing a letter?
Mhm.
Okay, the other one was, what did I just say? 602 development fees. I'm gonna look at the league PowerPoint.
I have the PowerPoint that I can share.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up on my own too.
602
Yeah,
did it come up? Are you seeing my screen?
okay, I'll switch back to your screen.
Does it say Mitigation Fee Act? Is this
This measure, yeah, this measure would make significant change to laws governing local development impact fees and create new state and local. So is this on your list?
No, it's not.
Okay. So I thought this one was worth writing a no on. Again, I did not listen to the meeting. I know they sent the recording. I was reading these summaries.
This is another one that's going to be in Senate Appropriations next week.
So to be conservative, I think we could write a letter oppose unless amended.
I need to learn more, and I'm looking at it now. It's I just haven't looked at this one at all before.
Same.
SB 60 short-term rental.
SB 60.
Yeah, just SB 60, yeah. Yeah, that one. But we could support that, but we don't have to if we don't need to take any action. I thought that was a good one.
I think the reason why I didn't flag it as staff is that we didn't have it wasn't applicable to Campbell yet, but
Yeah, I'm jumping ahead thinking it will be.
Is that because it has a minimum population size?
No, Campbell does not allow short-term.
correct.
Uh-huh.
We in fact have them, but they're not allowed. And we want to look at transient occupancy tax.
Yeah, and one bill that we have written a letter of support on addresses that.
555, yes.
The McGuire
All
bill.
right, that's fine for me. Interesting, the league opposes unless amended 555. Okay, so next one, yeah.
The only reason they took that, what I understood based on, is that some cities liked their own system and they want, they didn't want to necessarily, they didn't necessarily feel this was a better choice. So
Yeah.
they
But
wanted to stay with their own
this
system.
is, yeah, this is consistent with Councilmember Lopez saying they're not requiring you to use their services, they're just offering
Correct.
services.
And the status quo also benefits larger cities who can, make those kind of one-on-one deals. It's less advantageous for us.
Okay, the next one on my list was 780. Public investment, that's probably not that big a deal. AB 47, speed limits. I'm very much in support of that one. That's when they do there's a word, the 5-year annual. Check.
Yes, Quintennial.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. And there are always streets where we would like to see a slower speed, but we legally can't. So this AB 43 seemed like a really good one.
43.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very supportive of that and hear about it from residents all the time. And I would strongly support writing a letter for this one.
Okay.
So, but if you can fit it into your schedule, I'd like that one as well.
I think the league already has a lot of these template letters done. So especially support ones are easier because I don't have to customize as much.
Oh,
but we like you to exercise your verbal and
yes. Yes.
I would just add to this one, I'd encourage share,
Well, go for it. What?
I just making it even if it's a sentence or two unique to Campbell as much as possible. I know,
I always like that. Totally.
yeah, I mean it's a very residential community. There's a lot of families, there's senior communities that are impacted where we're very limited in what we can do.
Also, we're a drive-through community. We're surrounded by San Jose on 3 sides.
Thank you. That's
roads.
very helpful.
We have different standards. I can think of Kurtner. Kurtner in San Jose has 25 miles per hour. We have 30.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's the same road.
Yeah, I'm on Union and we have people cutting through all the time going 40, 45, even more. And there's a senior community right next to me and they're always concerned about safety.
Okay, so I'm fine with using the basic letter, but tweaking it to a specific.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Okay, the next one is AB 773, street closures. That sounded like a good one for us.
I support this one strongly, just, I, and I would not, I see it similarly to SB 10 in this case. It gives us the option of something that we may want to do. I'd be curious to learn more about what the restrictions right now are on doing this. I wasn't aware that, of some of those restrictions.
I won't tell you I know them specifically, but I think they have a lot to do with the public works, traffic engineer and the police requirements.
I see.
The police rules, but that's a
Hmm.
conjecture on my part.
I see. Well, I'd support the flexibility.
I would too.
Support the flexibility.
And
Okay,
I think it may be relevant as we consider different options.
yeah, exactly. AB 970 charging stations. There was something that is opposed on this one.
Hmm.
So the league opposes. I don't know why they're opposing it. It would be, it may simply be the shot clock, 15 days.
Yeah, I would guess so, and any impacts to staff.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big problems is this isn't in our control, sort of. Permitting is, but PG&E is months behind.
Mm.
So, does it mean that the, what triggers, it? So I'd have to read a little bit more, but to know why they're opposing.
I think even if it's just talking, if the 15 days is just applying to the city, that they're still gonna have, and I'm not necessarily saying these are my concerns, but concerns about staff time and just any impacts to that.
Yeah. Okay, well, those are the ones that were on my list.
okay. So from your list, what I heard is AB 773. Support, that's the one we just discussed regarding street closures.
Yeah.
AB 43, which is the speed limits, also support.
Yeah.
SB 10, I'm providing the fact sheet and the amended track changes form of the bill.
And I would suggest if Councilmember Lopez doesn't mind, but please feel fit to say you do, I would be willing to write a letter in opposition as mayor. And then if you found that you could join us, so be it. If you don't, so be it.
That wouldn't be my preference.
What would be your preference?
To not take action on this one, but I also think that you have the right to write a letter if you so feel.
All right, I'll look at the material a little more closely and see. Okay.
Margarita, I think there was a number one that we looked at on AB 602. I just don't have enough information, and it seems like a little more it's a pretty dense bill, so I just like to maybe getting the fact sheet would help, and I can take a look and study it further.
Okay. I'll send that over in the morning.
Thanks.
Okay, and let's see, what did we do with AB 897, the climate action plan? I didn't write yes, no, or maybe on my notes.
We were both inclined to support, but just didn't have as much background, but looking at the summary, I would support.
I'll see if I can
Is that one of the ones we said not to spend time on?
Yeah.
Okay, so just leave as status. Okay. And then the SB 99, the community resilience plan. I don't know if we talked about that one. That's back at the very beginning. That one, yeah.
No, I don't think we spoke about this one.
Yeah, I thought this one was a good one.
Yeah, I would support this one.
All right.
All right. And what was SB 780? Sorry, I've got all of these in my brain simultaneously and I'm going brain dead. SB 7, public investment. Yeah, I thought this was another good one. We don't have to take any action on it, but I thought it was a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from you, Councilmember Lopez?
No, not for me. Yeah, we had some good ones.
Yeah. We're getting better at trying to go through the, the program here.
Yeah, we're figuring it
Always
out.
a lot. There's always a lot. All right. I'll double check and see if there's any other members of the public wishing to speak on anything we've discussed. And I do not see anyone from the public on this call. So I will close that opportunity and I look forward to our next meeting. We should probably plan a meeting fairly close to when the legislature reassembles to see where things stand and if there's anything that requires immediate action. What are your thoughts, Sergio?
Sure, I'm supportive of that. Do we know when that date is?
We
Yes.
start on the 16th.
Correct.
So what would you suggest? The 16th is a Monday?
Well, I think, yeah, I'm fine with meeting that week. I think a lot of the bills we've spoken about today have a date on the 16th and that we're gonna get our letters in on time. But I'm fine with meeting. So yeah, maybe checking.
Get together and just see where things stand.
Yeah,
We can report back to council.
yeah.
So something the week of September 23rd, maybe towards the end of that week.
I'm sorry, September 23rd or August?
Sorry, August. My calendar's got both dates. August, the week of August 23rd.
Okay, I'll have Diana poll for August 23rd.
Well, that's a month. How about something like the Thursday, the 26th? Let's see, my calendar isn't good until the afternoon of that. I could do something early in the morning or after 3:30.
Let's have Diana follow up. I'm certain I can make that date, but I will be traveling, and so I just need to figure out my
Okay,
schedule.
well, we can make it the next week if you're back, whatever, I know you're traveling, whatever would. I'm not sure we're gonna need to take any action, and if we do, we can always call an emergency meeting. I just wanted to have an opportunity to follow
Yeah.
up so that when we met with the council on the 7th of September, we could give them an update.
Well, one thing we could, I could meet next week, perhaps at the end of the week, or I can take the week of the 30th. Either would be fine for me.
I could do, see, the ABAG meeting is Thursday night, the 19th. We could do Friday, the 20th, in the afternoon. I should be free from 12:30 on.
Yeah, that would be great for me.
Okay,
Friday, the 20th in the afternoon.
yep.
Okay. I'll have Diana set that up tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right. Oops. Okay, thank you. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
I'll send out the pending bill information and then start drafting these letters.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.